Today's episode is sponsored by Vitality Health RX Supplements. Whether you're an athlete, a busy professional, or just someone looking to prioritize health, Vitality Health RX has what you need. With premium ingredients and rigorous quality control, their supplements support your body's natural functions. Visit shopvrx.com and use code FEELGREAT15 for 15% off your first order. Thanks to Vitality Health RX for sponsoring this episode. Now let's dive in.
Hi, welcome to the Feel Better, Feel Great podcast. This is episode 144, Feeling Foggy, Simple Fixes for Clearer Thinking and More Energy. I'm Dr. Andrea McSwain, your guide to unlocking your best energy, health, and life. And if you're someone who's struggling with brain fog, low energy, or just feeling like you're in a mental fog most of the time, then this episode is for you. Today, we're going to dive into how small tweaks to your daily habits can help you regain mental clarity, focus, and energy, and feel sharper than ever. Please remember that this information provided in the podcast is for educational purposes only. Always seek the advice of your physician with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or health objectives. And by the way, I've got a special freebie for you today. My Metabolic Quick Start Guide. It's packed with simple strategies to boost your energy and start feeling better fast. So you can grab it in the show notes below. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about brain fog. It's that hazy, slow, unfocused feeling. You can't think clearly, you can't really grasp what you're seeing or maybe even hearing. So you feel like you're constantly searching for the right word, forgetting things, or just dragging through the day. Okay, but brain fog isn't exactly a medical diagnosis. It's often a symptom that your body's systems, especially how your body produces and uses energy, is out of sync. Let's be real, it's definitely out of sync. If your brain is foggy and it's cloudy, then it's not working. Your brain's not working the way that it should be for you to function. And that's the master control center, the central nervous system. So the rest of the body is getting a lot of confusion, and it's going to be wreaking havoc on the other areas. So even when brain fog is severe, it is not permanent. And there are definitely key changes you can do to support your body and start feeling sharper in no time. As a doctor, I've had the privilege of helping people navigate some of the most challenging health conditions. And one thing I've seen repeatedly is the profound impact that brain fog can have on someone's life. These aren't just abstract cases to me or ideas, or I see some brain fog that's mild, secondary to low thyroid. These are real people, and they're facing distinct battles in their health and their life. I want to share a few examples that I feel are really profound, and they've stuck with me, not just because of how severe they were. They highlighted how deeply this symptom can disrupt everyday life. For instance, I had a patient come to me after a hysterectomy with both ovaries have been removed. When this happens, some women can describe it as if their brain has hit a reset button, one they didn't ask for. And their thoughts are swimming in this deep, dark heaviness. Words vanish mid-sentence. There's a lack of any clarity of thought. They don't even know what's normal. And this was the case when I saw this 38-year-old. She had had dramatic hormone shifts post-operatively, and that was the culprit. And post-operatively, after a hysterectomy, first of all, surgeons do surgery, and after hysterectomy, then this becomes something classified as a mental health issue. And so people are left not only in a brain fog, but also with no path, because their symptom isn't even acknowledged, secondary to the surgery. But I will tell you, post-operatively, seeing this woman who was young, right, 38. So there were some gynecologic issues going on, but the decision was made that her uterus and ovaries would be removed. And when that happened, she really started over-relying on her adrenal access, and she had to start using her brain or the central nervous system for work that should have been done with her adrenals or even her gonadal axis. And that's a little vague, but basically it was very, very unfortunate. I also saw a 72-year-old who had her ovaries removed. And she no longer could speak in clear sentences. She didn't know what was going on. And one of the worst parts was that nobody supported the connection between having her ovaries removed and having this very severe, debilitating symptom. And so she was left kind of not even knowing what the problem was, and then no way of figuring out what to do. And then there are patients with Alzheimer's, where memory loss can go beyond forgetting a name or a place. Alzheimer's doesn't just take memories. It can create moments so disorienting and overwhelming that a person might lash out of fear or anger. Imagine forgetting where you are or even who's standing in front of you, only to be surrounded by a wave of confusion as the day turns into evening. Now, this is often called sundowning, and it's a phenomenon that's one of the hardest parts of loved ones to witness. And today we're going to dive into why it happens and how to support those experiencing it. And I have seen this violently in a 92-year-old to the point that it not only was destroying her mind, it was destroying her family's mind. And of course, there's that tragic scene in The Notebook where Allie stops remembering Noah when they're dancing, and it leads to all of that pain. So there are some significant examples, and I'd like to share another one because this is a category of people too that are often forgotten in healthcare, and they come with a symptom of brain fog. And I will say that sometimes when people come with brain fog and they're really smart, sometimes you don't even recognize it because they're subjectively telling you that they have memory loss or brain fog issues, kind of part and parcel. But what's happening is there's no baseline of who they were or who they could be. And so sometimes when people are really smart, and we have some exceptionally intelligent people in my practice, and it sometimes took me a while to understand what it meant for them in their mental capacity. And several of these people have Lyme disease that went unrecognized for, I don't know, some people would speculate 10 or 15 years. And people, when they deal with Lyme disease that's reached the central nervous system, the brain can feel like it's stuck in quicksand. Simple tasks become Herculean efforts. Conversations blur, and even forming a clear thought feels like it's not possible. For those living with the daily fog, it's not just frustrating, it's life-altering. We're exploring the connection between Lyme and the brain today as well, and how healing is possible even in these darkest moments. So what causes brain fog? Well, I've highlighted some things. Obviously, hormonal axis with the hysterectomy and removal of the ovaries. Memory loss, which could be any number of toxic metals, infection, inflammation, nutrient deficiencies. I think that's really remarkably highlighted by Dr. Dale Bredesen in his book, The End of Alzheimer's. And then, of course, with Lyme disease, we look at infection. And that's significant. Infection, inflammation, plaque formation, actually directly affecting the brain. There's other things, of course, that are a little more in the everyday, so kind of common culprits. So, sometimes for me, if I'm in clinic for a long time, I'm using my brain. And also because I'm doing manipulation, right? Physical manipulation or physical medicine. Sometimes I actually also use my muscles. And so sometimes my brain can be needing more sugar or simple carbohydrates. I use those interchangeably, but healthy, carbs. Also dehydration. So that's something, if you talk a lot at work, right, you might find that you get dehydrated a lot easier. And sometimes that can be difficult, and the brain does not like dehydration. It starts to kind of tighten and clamp down. So if you're feeling that vice effect, definitely grab a glass of water. Sleep deprivation. Obviously, sleep deprivation. So for some people, that is not a clear amount of time, but 6.5 to 8 hours and waking up feeling rested, I think, is the most significant way to define that you had a good night's sleep, is that you actually feel rested. And it is important that you do feel rested, because otherwise you have sleep deprivation. Some people have frank sleep deprivation, right? They have little kids, they have They work the third shift. That's a really big brain disruptor. And so this sleep deprivation is very obvious, but some people have very subtle sleep deprivation because they can lay there. But they end up having sleep deprivation because they get up at night, which we've talked about before in previous podcasts. Or they have a lot of light pollution. So those are some direct things related to sleep deprivation. Obviously, stress overload, because now the brain is working and it's working hard, and sometimes it's in the frontal brain for objective data, and sometimes it's in the amygdala or primal brain for fear-based thinking. And then, of course, that can activate your hormones like your cortisol. And then, of course, nutrition. So getting food in is one thing, but getting healthy food or food that's readily absorbable. So sometimes if I'm in clinic a lot, I will go for something more like a protein shake that's liquid, that's already broken down, or a broth or a soup that's low in sodium so that I can absorb those nutrients. There have been times in the past where I would have a sandwich or something heavy, and then it would be very distracting. And so my brain might feel foggy because I'm then expected to do a high demand. And so if that's the case, look to what you're eating, keep it simple, clean, ready to absorb. And that might mean you also have a little bit later in the afternoon snack. But that's okay because these are the ways to keep fueling your brain so it has better function. And then, of course, common culprits can be fumes, like environmental exposures, right? So, like, if you're at the gas station or someone has an overwhelming kind of perfume maybe, and these things start to kind of penetrate, and then they get into your sinuses, and then they aggravate your brain. So I'm sure you've dealt with at least one of those things. So I want to move into, how we can get you feeling clear-headed, how you could fight brain fog. So first of all, one of my favorite things to fight brain fog, because when you have brain fog, oftentimes it's also 100 things are coming at you, and the more the brain fog sets in and the more the 100 things are coming at you, the more you can't remember what to do. So I like for people to do one thing. I like them to think about the 45-second rule. What can you do for yourself in 45 seconds? So whether you're like really disoriented, whether you're you're stuck, you feel stuck. Nothing's going to move forward. Okay. Well, if nothing's going to move forward, then you have clearly 45 seconds to do something, because otherwise nothing's going to happen, right? So, okay, you have 45 seconds. So that's first and foremost, giving yourself permission to spend 45 seconds on yourself. And when you do that, okay, how can you do that? Well, maybe if you need to just exhale, stand up, maybe shift your shoulders a little bit, maybe close your eyes, take a breath through your nose and let your tongue relax. And that sometimes just gives a nice sweeping wave of calmness throughout the body. And there's ways to start the day too that can be very helpful. So one of those things can be a protein-rich breakfast. People talk a lot about intermittent fasting, and I'm a big fan, but sometimes that's not what needs to be happening. So especially if you're finding that intermittent fasting is not working for you, then don't should on yourself. Start getting something in there to break the fast, because the fast is being too far extended and leaving you into starvation. So break the fast with breakfast, and avoid anything sugary. So important, because that's going to be a quick spike and a huge drop. And while I have many times succumbed to gluten-free whatevers, they are, for me, the worst way to start the day, because the sugar spikes, because gluten-free flours are processed as very simple carbs, just like sugars, and then the crash. And that crash stays the whole day. So if you can do it right in the morning, that's another great way to get started and then keep that level going. And don't worry, you can always start the next day over again, right? So if you're, first of all, avoiding sugar and you're looking something that's protein rich. Now, eggs is an example, yogurt, protein smoothie. Obviously, food sensitivities can play in with those things. I think plant-based protein works really well most of the time, But if you're really struggling with this, then animal protein is probably in your best interest. Even having steak for breakfast. That sounds maybe crazy, but it can make a real difference. Start getting you on the right path, and then maybe you don't need something so heavy. It is a very protein-rich source, and it can give you some oomph to start your day. Obviously, hydration is critical. That's another really great way to fight brain fog. I think it's, again, a very good important detail to start that right away in the morning. Again, you've been dehydrated all night. Your body has rested with your gut, but now it's time to actually add that hydration in. So grab a warm water with some lemon, fresh squeezed lemon put into it right away, and look for maybe 12, 16 ounces. Just kind of get that kickstart going. And then, throughout the day, make sure you get about 8 to 10 cups of water in. Now, another tip is to use a large container so you know how much 8 to 10 cups of water is. So you can make sure that you drink that, because you're not thinking about what you're drinking for the day. All you're thinking about is how you're feeling worse and worse and worse. So getting something measured in the morning and then using that as your frame of reference will tell you where you're at throughout the day. And then you don't even have to think about it. And if you notice that there's more water in there and it's getting to be the middle of the day and there's more than half of the water there, drink some water. There you go. Another thing that's very good to support hydration is make sure you get that nice big glass of water in before you start eating. And definitely there's been conversations, the good or the bad, but in the beginning, you want to get these stages down so that you can really get your brain fog addressed. And then, of course, we need micro breaks. And I totally get this. Like, I'm in something, the last thing I want to do is take a break. But your brain is a muscle, your body's got muscles, right? So think of your brain as a muscle, I should say. But your brain uses a lot of blood glucose. Your muscles are not doing anything. And so you really need to kind of get up, move some muscles around, disconnect for a second, short time, right? And then, spend 50, 60 seconds doing this. Again, sometimes I just say apply the 45-second rule. Get up, shift around, do some squats to re-engage the core muscles. Nothing crazy, just something to activate, get the heart pumping. The body really needs the pump to work. And then these things, these simple things can provide a lot of consistency. So again, protein-rich breakfast. Hydrate in the morning, hydrate throughout the rest of the day, and then take those micro breaks. Apply that 45-second rule. That is the ticket, the 45-second rule. What are you going to do for yourself in 45 seconds? Because if your mind's going somewhere else, it's better just to commit to the 45-second rule. I hope that you're feeling that these things make sense, there's some clarity to them, and you just start engaging them and start building those habits. Again, look to the free Metabolic Quick Start Guide. It's packed with lots of information, tips, and better health for you to have better health and energy. So next week, we'll be talking about building strength and recovery without overtraining. So if you've ever felt stuck in your fitness journey, you won't want to miss it. And this is definitely important if you're struggling with brain fog, because you can use movement to help you reduce your brain fog if you have some tips and tricks that work for you. And I've helped people get out of brain fog with that many times. So as we wrap up today's episode, I want to remind you that brain fog, no matter how severe, isn't something you have to live with forever. Whether it's caused by hormonal shifts after a surgery, the challenging conditions of Alzheimer's, or the impact of something as complex as Lyme disease, or those everyday things that start to accumulate and become problematic. There are steps you can take to start feeling better and moving toward a clearer, more vibrant life. The first step, recognize the signals your body is sending you. Understand that brain fog is your body's way of asking for help. It's asking you to take a moment for yourself to find clarity. At the heart of Feel Better, Feel Great is the belief that every challenge is an opportunity to learn more about yourself and what your body needs to thrive. And I firmly believe that in my practice. I see it all the time in my clinic. You do deserve to feel empowered and to take those first steps towards healing and to live a life where you don't just feel better, you feel truly great. So whether you're starting to address your stress, fine-tuning your diet, or seeking professional guidance, know that small, consistent actions make a big difference. Feeling better is the beginning, but feeling great is the goal. And I'm here to help you with every step of the way. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Feel Better, Feel Great podcast. If you could spare 2 seconds to share this with someone, or maybe 2 minutes to write a quick review, I would really appreciate that and would help more people find the show and start their journey towards healing. Until next time, take care of yourself, stay hydrated, and I'll see you next week.